Hello people, welcome, good evening. It's another Tuesday. Welcome, 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 welcome. Share the video and let your friends hop into the broadcast this evening. Welcome everybody. Today I'll be speaking on money dynamics. Money dynamics as we prepare to transition into 2025. It's important that we grab a hold of the things that can help us excel, the things that can help us master money, the things that can help us make the most of the finances that God will bring our way. It's very important, very, very, very important. How's the year been? I mean, this is December 2024. I'm sure you have testimonies and you have a lot to show for what the Lord has done for you. Someone said, if you cannot think, you cannot thank. So for you to be thankful, you have to be thoughtful. And I said recently that if you want to know how much God has blessed you in 2024, don't check your bank balance because you will miss it. You will miss it. Just look back and see how much you have spent. Check the projects you've been part of. Check your expenditure, all the responsibilities financially and otherwise. Then you would see how much God has truly blessed you in 2024. So straight into the business of the evening, money dynamics, money dynamics. The subject of money is a very important one because it affects our lives on many different levels. And believe it or not, a lot of the challenges that people have are challenges that connect with money one way or the other. A lot of expectations people have are expectations that connect with money, things that money can do. However, there are philosophies, ideologies, mindsets, and certain behavioral patterns connected to money that must be in place, right? If not, then it's going to be difficult to manage money. It's going to be very difficult to manage money. I've seen people with little money do big things. As a matter of fact, I was speaking to one of my proteges yesterday who came to see me, and she earns 85,000 naira monthly. 85,000 naira monthly. And well, she recently bought a land because I was in her city. I was in a conference in her city and she came to see me, and I really charged her up and pushed her and encouraged her to make sure she gets a land. And so from her story that she told me, she said, first of all, she had to do like a deposit, and after that, because she's able to do, she does some kind of digital, business, she's able to raise some extra money. And this young girl in her 20s, has land in a beautiful estate in her city. So there are people who earn small, who are able to do big things with money. There are people who earn big, who can't even do small things with money. It's not first about how much you earn. It's not first about how much you have. There's something about your mindset that your money will rise and fall to the quality of your mindset. Your money will rise and fall to the quality of your mindset. If you have the wrong mindset, somehow your money is going to go in the wrong directions. If you have the right mindset, your money is going to go in the right direction. Okay, so again, it is said that money is neutral because some people believe that money is bad, money is evil. Money is neither good nor evil. Money is not evil, as a matter of fact. Someone said that money is neutral. Money is neutral. It always takes on the form of the state of heart of its possessor. Money is neutral, but will always take on the form of the state of heart of its possessor. If the heart of the possessor of money is evil, he will use that money to do evil things. If the status of the heart of the possessor of money is good. You use it to do good things. If the possessor of money is wise, he will put that money to good use. If the possessor of money is foolish, then he's going to waste that money. For every resource in our lives, we're either investing it or we are wasting it, as it were. We're either investing it or we are wasting it. What are the things that influence the flow of money? Remember that money is called currency. Why is it called currency? Because it flows. Money flows. You know, currency, like the currents of a river, the currents of a stream, the currents of the sea. Money flows. Money flows. It flows to or it flows away from. How do you direct these currencies? How do you even understand how money flows? Now, money flows into our priorities. Money flows into our lifestyles. Money flows into our habits. And money flows into our appetites. Money flows into our appetites. It flows into our habits. It flows into our lifestyles. And it flows into our habits. Our habits. If you do not discipline your lifestyle, you will never discipline your money handling. If you do not discipline your appetite, then you cannot discipline your money handling. If you can't discipline your habits, you see, your money will sponsor your habits. It will sponsor your habits. Your money will sponsor your priorities, the things that are most important to you. There are people who will never buy a book, but they place a premium on where they eat with friends. You understand that? That is their priority. That's their priority. That's their priority. There are people who don't have a house to lay their head. They don't have a house to lay their head, but they have a nice car. They have a nice car. And their business is to drive this car and park it somewhere where they can sleep. They have their bucket in the trunk. They have their wardrobe in the trunk, and everything they need is in the trunk. Some of them move from house to squat. They just have a nice car to impress people at the expense of their own well-being, right? So, but that's their priority. Your money will sponsor your lifestyles. Your money will sponsor your habits. Your money will sponsor your priorities. Your money will sponsor your appetite. If you don't chasten yourself in these areas, then it's going to be difficult to control money. It's going to be difficult to control money. Very difficult to control money. Again, I said from the beginning, it's not about how much you have. It's about how well you spend what you have, how you put to use what you have. Let me say something to you. That God is not just willing to give you what you desire, God is willing to give you what you're able to manage. So while we may start from desire, yes, while we may start from desire, and it's good to desire, oh, I've got big dreams, I've got great desires. We can start from desire. But God is not just obligated to give you what you desire. God is going to give you what you're able to manage. You have to demonstrate the ability to manage what you desire. Then, when it comes, you're able to keep it, right? When it comes, you're able to keep it. It is said that there are 3 M's of money. There is making, managing, and multiplying. Making, managing, and multiplying. Now, there are people who are making money, but they don't know how to manage it and they don't know how to multiply. Let's talk about very simple things. Let's talk about simple things. If you live in a house where you constantly need faith every single year, things happen to people. Sometimes businesses don't go as planned, or, things don't go as planned. And there might be temporary situations people go through. Now, but that is a different thing. There are people who know that they do not have what it takes to live in a certain kind of house or a certain area of town, but they're going to live there anyways, just to impress the Joneses, right? Just to be like somebody else. There are people who are going to take their children to a school they have no business going to, just because of certain people who have their children in these schools. You cannot be having faith, aggressive faith, stubborn faith every year to pay school fees. Aggressive faith, stubborn faith every year to pay house rent. You're living in the wrong house and your kids are in the wrong school. Thank God for schools with big names. But listen, there are nameless schools that produce some of the finest students. Stay where you can afford part-time, and as God blesses you, you can go to somewhere that matches your new level of blessing, if that is what you so wish. You know, don't stop putting yourself under pressure. The reason why some people cannot save is because everything they make must go into, you know, the choices they've made, the appetites that they serve, the lifestyles that they've chosen, and the habits that they are invested in. How can you grow if there's nothing set aside to save? If you're struggling always to save money all through the year just to pay house rent, okay, how about feeding? How about everything else? How about there has to be something to save? There are people who have left self-contained apartments and moved into their own house. If you have a plan, you'll be willing to go through the necessary disciplines and you'll be willing to delay gratification. You find people with money and you just think, oh, money falls from heaven. If you don't kill certain ideologies, no matter how much money God blesses you with, it will never make a difference in your life. Because for some people, instead of disciplining themselves on how not to spend everything, disciplining themselves on how to set aside something, on disciplining themselves on how to save for capital, because you can save for capital, right? You can save for capital. Some people just have the mindset, oh, whatever thing they want to do, the first thing they need is a loan. No, how much of your money have you saved? You can reduce your liability. Let's even imagine that you need a loan. It's a heavy project and you need a loan. But how much of your money have you set aside? If you have not been able to handle personal money, you will never be able to handle loan money. There are people who get loan money and they go on straight, buy a new car, go on straight, begin to shop clothes, begin to do vacations to impress people. They've not even done what they took the loan for. Wrong mindset, inferiority complex. And they're in a hurry to prove a point to people and to tell people that they've made it when you've made nothing. A loan is not your money. A loan is not your money. It's not your money. Until that loan can do work or business that can bring back sufficient profit, you've not achieved anything. You've not achieved anything. You must learn how to handle money. 2025 is a big year. I'm excited about it. I believe that God's going to bring great opportunities to his people. But it's not just about those opportunities. It's about our ability to manage the things that he's going to bring into our hands. The turning point for the prodigal son, I'll tell you, I mean, if you read that story in Luke chapter 15, right? You read that story and you see that this guy was in a hurry. He was hasty. He goes to his father, hey, give me my share, give me my share. I can't wait for you to die. Just give me my share now. And then you see the Bible says not many days after, he takes his journey into a far country, and there he wasted his living, or he wasted his resources in riotous living. Let us unpack that. One, he was hasty to ask for his share. I believe he should have spent time to learn from his father's wisdom. His father was a wealthy man and he could have learned from his wisdom. He had his eyes on the money and he had his mind disconnected from the wisdom. Number two, he didn't want accountability. So not many days after, hastily, he takes his journey to a far country. Why did he go to a far country? It's not because he saw great opportunities there. It was so he can be in a place where no one can observe, no one can monitor, no one will ask him questions. He won't be accountable to anybody. That's why he went to a far country. Look, what if he had a plan? What if he found out what the business terrain in that far country was? What if he understood what the tax laws were? What the opportunities were, what the dynamics were, what the needs were. What if, but his interest was just lavish spending. right? And so he wastes his money with harlots. His older brother clearly says, if you read the end of chapter 15, when his older brother was angry and came to his father, he said, this son of yours who wasted his money with harlots. So you see, that kind of lifestyle was what took his money. Now, what's even more amazing to me was that when the guy became broke and needed money, where were all the friends? Where were all the people who were in the same parties with him? Where were all the people who were, spending the money with him? Bring it on, bring it on. All the people who were taking the green bottles away, where were they? The people who shared plates of goat brains with him. The people who shared plates of cow inside parts, cow guts. Oh, rishi, cow guts. All the people who shared that with him. Where were they? None was to be found. Now, there was a famine in the land, right? But there was somebody else employing labor. The guy who employed him was employing in the same economy. Where this guy was broke and had lost all, somebody else was expanding his workforce. It's amazing. He was expanding his workforce. I don't want to go too deep into that. But we see that the industry that was expanding in the middle of famine was agriculture. The guy kept pigs. He had a piggery. And this guy was employed to feed pigs. Listen, the mere possession of money is not an expression of worth. The mere possession of money is not an expression of worth. It's the ability to multiply money that defines your intellectual value, that defines the measure of your resourcefulness. As a matter of fact, you're not rich because you have a stack of money. You are rich because you can produce money at will. You're rich, you will become rich because you can solve problems at a level that can bring you back great rewards at will. You are going to be wealthy because you're able to upscale your value to where it can solve complex problems at a level that can bring back great currents of rewards. Okay, so the guy at the point of employment was employed to feed pigs. Why? That's where his value was. So all the money he had and the cars he drove and impressed people, well, he spent the money, maybe sold the cars and whatever else, all the bling bling that he had, the gold and all the everything, he sold them to survive. Now it was time for employment. His real value showed up. His real value was he only knew how to feed pigs. They didn't even let him eat that food because the pigs were more valuable, were considered more valuable than himself. But what was his turning point? His turning point was that he learns the hard way in the process, because one day he sits and begins to think and he says, how many hired servants of my father's have more than enough to eat and to spare? So you see that his thinking pattern had changed at this time. One of the places where we can measure the weight of our values in the weight of thought. I did a teaching one time and I called it value at the weight of thought. I don't know if it's on my website already, www.akomayeugar.org. Yeah, I think you should find it there, www.akomaye.org. And you can download that teaching, value at the weight of thought. Value at the weight of thought. Our lives go where our minds go. Proverbs 23 verse 7 says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you can measure the dynamics and goings in the life of a person by observing the train and trend and quality of thoughts produced from his mind. Very, very, very important. How many hired servants of my father's have enough and to spare? I will go to my father and say to him, I'm not worthy to be your son. Just take me as one of your servants. So you're seeking greater employment. Don't forget, he's employed at his current level where he was deemed only worthy to feed pigs. But he grows in the process. We find a reflection in his mindset and we find him daring to take a job on another level. Now he's seeking for a job in his father's enterprise. He's seeking for a job in his father's organization. Wow. And he boldly goes to his father. So that was a turning point in his life. If your value system does not improve, money will never last in your hands. If your value system does not improve, money will never last in your hands. Let me say a couple of things here. That if you do not kill the compulsive pressure to impress people, you will never be able to do anything good with money. You would start having maybe some kind of utopian ideas about money. For example, there are people who just believe whatever you have now, spend it anyhow, because big money will come. That's foolish thinking. Whatever you have now, spend it anyhow. You have 1 million now, oh, come on, it's small. You know, just spend it anyhow. When that 70 million comes, when that 50 million comes, when that 100 million comes, when that $50,000 comes, then the city will know, my guys will know that I've made it. And sincerely, there are people who have been speaking like that for 15 years, 12 years, 13 years. And I dare say to you that even if that person got $50,000 now, give them a little while, just a little while, they would go back to status quo. They'll go back to status quo. If you cannot manage little, it will be difficult to manage much. That's why the scripture says that he that is faithful in little is faithful in much. I always stress that the scripture does not say will be faithful in much. It says is the status and disposition of discipline towards little is the same disposition of discipline that you need when there is abundance. If you lack it when you have little, I tell you, when abundance comes, you will not be able to manage abundance. You will not be able to manage abundance. You won't be able to manage abundance. How well are you able to manage what God gives to you? Let me say some more things here as I begin to close. Listen, and listen very carefully. The opportunities you have today may not be there tomorrow. And this entire line of thought, you would find it in Genesis 41. The entire chapter is the chapter of Joseph and Pharaoh. You remember Pharaoh dreams a dream and it bothers him. He dreams a dream where 7 lean cattle swallow up 7 fat ones. So 7 lean cattle swallow up 7 fat cattle. And then 7 blighted maize swallow up 7 nice looking ones. And so he's bothered by this dream and it repeats, right? It repeats. And so there's pressure. He knows that, hey, there's something here. And he calls his magicians, his wise men, and all of those diviners, and they're not able to help him. They're not able to help him. In the midst of all that confusion, and Pharaoh is saying, you guys, look, you better tell me this dream or else, then someone remembers. Someone remembers. I believe that was the butler. Was it the butler that was restored? One of Pharaoh's staff said, hey, Pharaoh, I'm sorry, forgive me. We were in prison and there was this young man who interpreted our dreams, and the dreams turned out exactly as he interpreted the dreams. Pharaoh says, call him right now. Long story short, Joseph shows up. He hears the dream, tells Pharaoh the interpretation, and gives him the solution. Now, what did Joseph say to Pharaoh? Please listen attentively. Listen attentively. He said, there will be 7 years of abundance, and there will be 7 years of famine. 7 years of famine. This is what you're going to do, Pharaoh. Let's cultivate the land. Let's expand our productivity quotient, right? Let's cultivate more of the land. let's also set aside 20% of everything cultivated. Let's get these grain silos and let's put the grain in them, and let's prepare for the 7 years of famine. And so the idea was that when the famine hits, they'll have enough to sustain them. And then the nations will come and buy from them. And of course, in the course of time, we saw that when it actually happened, the nations came, bought from them. And when the nations ran out of money, they began to exchange their lands and houses. That's how Egypt was annexed into different nations, and Egypt became world power. Let's come back. Let's come back. Let's come back. There are 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine in everybody's life. And let me interpret it so that you can grab a hold of it. The opportunities you have today may not necessarily be there tomorrow. There are certain income streams that God will make happen within certain seasons of your life that may not be there in other seasons. And listen, it is not God's problem that the streams that are there today may not be there tomorrow. He wants you to be able to handle and manage what He gives to you today, so that even if the streams are not there tomorrow, you will still have abundance. You will still have abundance. You will still have abundance. Some of the blessings in your hands today are preparation for the seasons tomorrow. They are preparation for the seasons tomorrow. So He says to Pharaoh, let's cultivate. Let's produce aggressively. You know the two things about Jacob and Esau? Esau was a consumer economy. Jacob was a producer economy. Oh yeah? Esau's disposition was to go hunt, bring it, kill it, roast it, eat it. He was a consumer economy. So in his old age, he began to, he lost that big opportunity. Well, first of all, we know he sold his birthright, but let's follow it that way. In his old age, he lost the opportunity of being able to bring game to his father in good time. What if this man had some kind of wildlife conservation area? What if he had some kind of wildlife park or wildlife ranch where he was rearing some of these things? What if he got them from the forest, tamed them, and reared them? At his age, at over 100 years, he still needed to get his equipment and go to the jungle. Do you remember something called seasonal migration? Oh, if you did geography, you may have heard about seasonal migration. Some animals that will be found in a certain region can migrate to another region, in the course of time. It's possible that where antelopes were at this time, maybe they were no longer there. Why didn't he have a company of young men that he had trained and given that skill? Because the Bible says he was a skillful hunter. He was a skillful hunter. Was there a transmission of skill? Oh yeah, you're rising, you have skill, you have great IQ for certain things. Who are you raising? You don't realize that your hope in the next generation will be the next generation that have drank from you, the next generation that have been raised by you. Your hope for the next generation is the next generation that has been raised by you. Esau, why didn't you have young people who you had trained, agile young guys into whom you had imparted your skill? Then when his father said, hey, go get me that, he should have mobilized his boys. What if he had, like I said, a ranch where he was rearing antelopes and different exotic species of animals? He could have just gone straight to the ranch, shoot, kill, and go fix that thing for his father. But he literally went into the forest. And what he went to the forest to find, Rebecca and Jacob went to the backyard to get. They went to the backyard to get. they could get from the backyard because they were rearing something in the backyard. Yes, what she got was not bushmeat, but with ingenuity, she made goat meat taste like bushmeat. And this man who had eaten bushmeat all his life could not decipher between the taste of specifically modified goat meat, spice evolved goat meat, whatever it was. But this was goat meat tasting like bushmeat. My God, Rebecca had culinary ingenuity. She made it taste like bushmeat. And he ate it and liked it. He ate it and liked it and released the blessing. Are you a producer economy or consumer economy? Jacob was a producer economy. He had this food ready. Having observed Esau and saw his habit and saw the guy was hasty, he would do anything if he was hungry. He would spend any money. And that's how some people are. Under pressure, they will spend anything. If they are hungry, they'll spend anything. Self-control. He didn't have it. So he comes with meat. And he was a good cook. Esau was a good cook. How do I know he was a good cook? His father said, go and prepare me venison. Just the way I like it. So he had his father's specification. He was good at it. So how come he came back this day with meat but was too impatient to process it? And rather what Jacob had fixed, knowing that this guy was always hasty, this guy would do anything if he was hungry. Well, unfortunately, he took advantage of it. And what did the man buy it for? Birthright. A plate of vegetables, a plate of beans, a plate of pottage or porridge, a plate of eba, a plate of rice and stew, exchange for birthright. A birthright. It's amazing. It's amazing. Back to 7 years of abundance. You may not have certain opportunities today, tomorrow. Things can change. Policies can change. Certain opportunities may not be there. Okay? The priorities of the organization or the people giving you certain opportunities can change. Things can happen. And where certain big monies are coming from today might just not be there tomorrow. But what matters is not that they won't be there tomorrow. What matters is what you're doing with what comes today. And that's how Egypt excelled. Because even though there was going to be 7 years of famine, they used their 7 years of abundance so very well. They saved 20%. 1/5, 20% of everything grown in that land. It doesn't matter how much you earn. What have you set aside? There are people who don't have a reserve account. There are people who live from hand to mouth. And even when it's 1 million, it's hand to mouth. 10 million, they will live from hand to mouth. And by hand to mouth here, I don't mean the typical definition of hand to mouth as far as being poor. I'm talking of hand to mouth in the sense that everything that comes into their hands ends up in their mouth. It ends up in their mouth. There are people breaking their heads over a car just to impress friends. You don't have any parcel of land to your name. Listen, we're entering 2025 and you have to make certain decisions. You must come to that place where you don't care what people think about you. You must come to that place where you separate yourself from circles of people that put you under pressure to spend. You don't have land, but you can afford to buy a bottle of wine of 500,000 naira just to impress some friends and to make them feel that you have money. Do you understand what you're doing? Like, every seat is probably worth 20,000 or 30,000. Every seat. And at the end of it, you go and pee. And that's the end of it. You're saving money to buy expensive wine to impress friends that have no business with your life and destiny. 2025 is coming. You can choose to do better. You can choose to do the right thing. You can choose to make something happen with your life. Become a producer economy. Don't be a consumer economy. You can't spend everything that comes into your hands. Stop trying to impress people. Look, it makes no sense. Listen, I don't care how much that shoe is, right? After you have worn it once and impressed the people you want to impress, they're no longer impressed. Do you understand? You can't keep impressing them with a shoe that you have already impressed them once with. Now you're going to need the next shoe to impress them and the next shoe. For how long will your life revolve around things? Build on the quality of your person. The quality of your person. There are people driving small cars and giving themselves the opportunity to grow. I don't have a problem with big cars. I have. But listen, grow into it. Grow into it. Give yourself time to grow. Take yourself out of circles where you're under pressure, to impress under pressure, to spend under pressure. Places where you only fit into because of how much you are willing to spend. Places where you only fit into because of where you eat. Cook at home, my friend. Cook at home. And no one is saying you can't eat expensive meals in places. Give yourself time to grow. A time will come when you have grown. Not only you will be able to eat in these places, you can take a company of people if you like and buy food for all of them and still not feel a scratch in your pocket. Give yourself time to grow. You don't need the most recent iPhone. You do not. You don't. You just want to say amongst your friends, I was the first to get the iPhone 16. So what? So what? You are the first, so what? What award have you received? So what? I hope this helps someone, because if you don't alter your lifestyles, if you don't alter your priorities, if you don't alter your habits, and if you don't discipline your appetites, you will never handle money. You will never handle money.